A very good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I am Kirtika from the Asian Adventures team. Firstly, we'll talk about Asian Adventures. We are a 32-year-old company dedicated to conservation travel experiences across the globe. Asian Adventure is the founding force behind the Global Wildlife Fair, created as a platform that brings together tourism, conservation, creativity, and dialogue across wildlife and nature. We also initiated the Indian Wildlife Network last year as a collaborative platform connecting conservationists, storytellers, and nature practitioners across the country. Now, let me quickly walk you through what you can expect from this webinar. Today, Sir will introduce us to the fascinating world of butterflies and their vital role in nature. He'll explain why butterflies are important indicator of a healthy ecosystem and what they tell us about the environment in general. We'll explore the incredible diversity of butterflies around both urban and natural landscapes. Sir will highlight how protecting butterfly habitats can conserve biodiversity on a larger scale. And finally, he'll share how citizen science can contribute to butterfly monitoring and conservation, showing how every one of us can play an important role in it. And without much ado, I would like to hand over the session to Sir to lead us into this very interesting discussion. Over to you, Sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, we have a lot to get through. So before I start, thank you, Kritika, Pooja, all of you guys at the Asian Adventures team for giving me this opportunity to talk about butterflies. And big thanks to everybody who's here, who's made it on a Saturday evening for this chat today. So thank you. I am Sohail Madan. I work with an organization called Wild Tales Foundation. Uh, Primarily, our work revolves around habitat restoration, biodiversity monitoring and conservation, as well as environment education. And I have a special interest in butterflies. My research area is butterflies, hence the talk today, right? With that, let me, yeah, so it was told in the introduction, today the talk is about finding ourselves and butterflies in this critically important web of life, nature or biodiversity, as we might call it. We'll try and understand why butterflies, what they are, their body parts, life cycle. We'll also dwell into the protection mechanism that butterflies and caterpillars use, the interesting hidden secrets that they harbor. We'll also want to talk about some of the predators that you commonly see for butterflies and caterpillars. Uh, we will also talk about an ideal ecosystem for butterflies and what they feed upon, right? And finally, we'll talk about the importance, threats, and conservation of these butterflies. Okay, so starting out, uh, I hope everybody understands what biodiversity is, but for people who are completely new, biodiversity is the sum of all the living things and the interactions between these living things, right? So, everything we think of when we think of nature is part of biodiversity. And this biodiversity is critically important, like I said earlier, because in simple terms, the more the biodiversity, the more resilient our nature and environment is. So it makes our environment disaster, like it not disaster proof, but it defends us from all the disasters that nature could bestow on us. It also provides us food resources and medicinal resources. It's also a big chunk of our livelihood. It also gives us mental health and physical health. So all of that is why biodiversity is important. It is important to keep life as we know it on this planet alive. But going back to some of the very simple concepts that we've learned in our school days, is this concept called the food web. Here we see uh, it's a perspective or a lens on nature and how to look at nature. Here we are looking at the relationship, the energy entropy relationship between different animals, animal groups, plant groups, how they are dependent on each other via uh, a food source, right? So grass is eaten by cows also, and it is eaten by deer also, and uh, the insects that hide in it utilize the grass, and it feeds the soil and makes it compact, uh, and gives it life, right? So one organism in the whole ecosystem plays different roles, right? It has these connections with different beings in the totality of what we know as nature, right? Do you see human beings somewhere in this web? This is a question to everybody. Somebody can uh, unmute themselves and answer. Do we see humans anywhere in this food web? Are there any answers?
Yes, people in the chat box, they are writing no, where they cannot see humans in it.
Yeah, so we basically, uh, mm, people have said no. Obviously, there are no humans here in the diagram. And unfortunately, this is how we look at nature also. We look at it from a lens of it being somewhere else and we not being part of the miracle of nature, the whole interconnections. Somehow we feel disconnected from this. And uh, our response because of that has changed over time, and we are feeling what nowadays people are calling climate anxiousness or anxiety. We know we have to be part of this web of life to survive, but our lifestyle and what we now see development as has changed that perspective, and now we see ourselves away from this food web, right? But going back again to the books that we read, there was another representation of uh, nature or how we look at nature in our books called the food pyramid. If any of you guys remember from your school days, it was a very simple way of looking at nature, where at the bottom are the uh, mm, decomposers, the insects, then the plant life, then primary consumers, then secondary consumers, then on top, there's an alpha predator, right? This way or lens of looking at nature has been used to create India's uh, most successful conservation program called the Project Tiger. In 1973, this program was initiated by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Uh, in this program, the idea is that if we, with tiger being the topmost predator in the food pyramid, if we work on conservation of the tiger, it will have a cascading effect downwards, meaning that uh, if we save tigers, the secondary consumers that the tiger depends on will also be conserved. the primary consumers that those secondary consumers might depend on will also be conserved, henceforth, so on and so forth, right? Having an effect on the grass and the trees and the streams of the forest also, just by conserving a tiger, right? So we want to uh, invert this lens of looking at the food pyramid or nature or conservation. Here we are trying to call it, just for a clearer understanding, the Ulta Project Tiger. In this, uh, insects making a bigger chunk of the percentage of biodiversity or life on Earth, we want to focus on conservation of these uh, not very well known insects rather than the top predator. And we're hoping that the conservation effects, the benefits cascade upwards towards the secondary consumer, towards the plant life, towards the primary consumer, towards the uh, top predator, right? This is the lens from which we are looking at conservation, insect conservation, and butterfly conservation in particular, right? We are using butterflies as a beautiful, harmless ambassador to the world of insects, right? Most people have a like an adverse reaction to insects. They're not very well liked in our culture. So, uh, what we think, if we work with the most beautiful of the insects, it might change people's mindset, and they might start to look at butterflies as well as other insects in a different way, right? We can start conservation work only if people know, people like what they know, people are going to go out of their way to save what they just like and love, right? So it's very important for us to spread this message. With that in mind, let's get into what butterflies are. Okay. Butterflies and moths here, I must specify, are from an insect group called Lepidoptera, which is fancy Latin for scaled winged insect. This is what makes butterflies unique in the butterflies and moths again, unique in the insect world. They're the only insects which have scales, minute nano scales on their wings. That's what gives them color. So if you've ever held a butterfly in your hand when you were a kid or in school or something, some color might have come on your hand. That color itself is those scales. So no other, apart from butterflies and moths, no other insect has this feature, right? For us to distinguish between them. And of course, as other insects, butterflies are also cold-blooded animals, right? If we talk about what their body parts are, they have six jointed legs, three major body parts. First is the head, then is the thorax, and then is the abdomen. Okay. They also have compound eyes, a pair of antennae, and an exoskeleton. Like most insects, they have an exoskeleton, which is different from what we have, which is a endoskeleton. Our skeleton is on the inside of our body. Theirs is on the outside, simply, right? We discussed all of these parts. Antenna right there on top of the head, a big sensory organ for the butterfly. The head, which contains the big compound eyes, thorax, which is like our thorax. It's like a chest cavity where the legs are attached. Then abdomen, where the waste product comes out of. And they have four sets of wings, two forewings and two hind wings, right? This is the basic structure of how a butterfly, what a butterfly is and how it looks, right? When we talked about the scales of a butterfly, so this is a small Salmon Arab butterfly. If we zoom into the wing, this is what it looks like. If we zoom even further, on the right hand corner is the monarch butterfly wing scales. So on an electron microscope, that's what it looks like. Just a deep detailed dive into the wing and scales of a butterfly, right? Moving on, uh, for me, the most interesting aspect of butterfly and butterfly ecology is the life cycle of these butterflies. The most fascinated I have been in the insect world is when I get to witness such a life cycle, which is very easily accessible in our home gardens or urban gardens. Uh, Butterflies and moths again have been on this planet for a very, very long time, almost from the time of the dinosaurs, the Jurassic era, about 300 plus million years ago. Uh, One of the reasons they have been so successful, have been able to survive on Earth for such a long time, is because they go through this life cycle. Okay. So what they have done is, for the sake of efficiency, they have divided their life into four stages. And in every stage, their life purpose, what they are meant to do, changes and gives them focus and efficiency into becoming an adult and carrying out their ultimate promise of procreation and making sure that there are more generations of butterfly to come, right? So where this starts from is that a female butterfly carries its egg to a larval host plant. In this case, a lime butterfly has carried its egg to a citrus plant. It can also be something like a kadi patta. Some common plants are larval hosts to lime butterfly. So this egg is the first life stage where the purpose is to keep the life inside the egg safe, right? This is not like a bird egg, which is brittle and breaks. It's tensile and it can take some wear and tear to keep the life inside it safe, right? Once the larva or the caterpillar hatches from the egg, it will eat the eggshell, and this is the second stage of the butterfly's life cycle. Here, the caterpillar is a voracious eater, and its only purpose is to feed on the leaves of the larval host plant, right? It will go through 4 or 5 instars where it will change its shape, size, the look, right? So this young larva in the beginning is very small, so it's trying to pass off as uh, a beat of a bird, right? A bird poop. Once it becomes bigger, it can't hide as a bird poop, so it takes on this yellowish, greenish color to hide itself in the leaf patterns itself, right? Once it's eaten enough, very important to note, once it's eaten enough, it will go into a process of pupation where it will try and hide in a uh, cold, dark place. Uh, it will use a thread to tie itself on a support, and it will turn into a chrysalis for a butterfly, right? This chrysalis is the third stage of a butterfly's life cycle. Here, the purpose is to convert all that the caterpillar ate in the previous stage into body parts of an adult butterfly, right? Before the chrysalis, the butterfly is going to come out of the chrysalis, it takes on this blackish color that you see. And once the butterfly is ready to come out, it tears the chrysalis a little bit, and out comes a wet insect looking for sun to begin its life activity. And once the adult has left, this brown pupa that you see is the empty shell, right? This adult now is the imago or the final stage of a butterfly's life cycle. Here, the male is going to look for a female, and the female is going to look for a male and a larval host plant to deposit the egg, and the life cycle goes on. It's something akin to what our Old scriptures also say that our life should also be divided into uh, brahmachari, grihast, all of that, right? So it's something like that. So at all our life stages, it has a different purpose. The egg is saving the life. Caterpillar is gathering energy through eating. Chrysalis is changing that energy into body parts. And the fourth stage, the final stage, the adult stage of a butterfly is to find a mate and procreate and make sure that the future generations of butterflies keep coming. Okay. If we have understood the life cycle of butterflies, it'll be important to note here that when we talk about the butterfly diversity in the world, globally there are about 18,000 butterflies that are seen. In India, it's 1379, and the number keeps changing. Every year we find new butterflies. Uh, But 1300 plus is the diversity of Indian butterfly species. Okay. We divide them into six butterfly families: the swallowtails, brush-footed families, blues, white and yellows, skippers, and metal marks. Okay. In Delhi, there are no metal marks. There are only five known butterfly families in Delhi. Moving on from what butterflies are, their parts, and their life cycle, now let's get down to the secret business of butterflies. Butterflies uh, are on the base of the food pyramid. A lot of stuff, other organisms, living organisms, wildlife, use butterflies and their caterpillars as a primary food source. So a lot of things eat them. So they have evolved over time in diversity, in numbers, in mechanisms of how they protect themselves too. So we will go through some of them here. One of the unique mechanisms that they use is called mimicry, where they try and copy each other for various reasons. Then they also some of the butterflies also, as caterpillars, eat leaves of plants which have some toxins in them that makes them unpalatable or inedible uh, in their adult stage. Some use patterns by the season, some use camouflage, some use deception. So a lot of different techniques butterflies are using to keep themselves safe and make sure that they're not eaten by predators. Okay. So first is Mullerian mimicry, where poisonous, toxic, unpalatable butterflies mimic each other. So here you see crimson rose and common rose. These are two butterflies which feed on the Aristolochia plant. Because they feed on the Aristolochia, they imbibe some chemicals which make them unpalatable. So they are similar looking to each other. In nature, they have decided that a few colors like black, red are signals for predators so as they don't eat them, right? Some of this mimicry can be seen across butterflies and moths as well. The other type of mimicry that there is Batesian mimicry. Here, non-poisonous or non-toxic or no, or edible butterflies try and mimic a inedible butterfly so that it can fool the predator into thinking that, oh, this is a inedible butterfly, let me ignore it. So here you see Dinah egg fly and a plain tiger. A Dinah egg fly, this is a female of a Dinah egg fly, which is a non-poisonous, non-toxic butterfly, can be fed on by birds, etc. But they ignore it because it looks very similar to a plain tiger, which is on the right, and the plain tiger feeds on milkweed, which makes it unpalatable to birds, hence keeping the tynid egg fly safe through Batesian mimicry, right? In most cases, butterflies also show sexual dimorphism, which means that uh, females of and males of a species look different, right? in butterflies and mostly in nature, the female is of utmost importance, right? So at all cases and at all times, it is an attempt to keep the butterfly, female of a butterfly safe. Okay. This is a common cruiser again. Male and female look different. Some butterflies have wet and dry seasons. This is a trick whereas a butterfly will look different in the wet and dry season, right? In the wet season, there will be a lot of brown in the surroundings, and in the wet season, there will be a lot of green, right? So if they can anticipate what the weather is going to be and change their patterns accordingly, it will give them a better advantage in hiding in their surroundings. So depending on when they are coming out as adults, they also take on different colors. Here you can see the lemon pansy on dry season is completely pink to camouflage itself with the red rocks, whereas it has this dry leaf pattern in wet season. Yeah, you can see here a wet season butterfly is mating with a dry season butterfly of the same species. You can see how different they look. This is from three-ring butterflies. But some, like I said, in Mullerian mimicry, some poisonous butterflies are bright colored, right? So if you see blacks and metallic greens and blues, you can presume that these butterflies aren't edible and predators are going to leave them alone, right? Some non-poisonous butterflies have to camouflage, right? So you can see this common evening brown camouflaging with a leaf litter, the common three-ring trying to camouflage in the dry surroundings. This yellow orange tip is looks like exactly like a leaf, torn leaf. It's trying to sit at the back of a leaf. So they positions themselves strategically in places where they can hide in plain sight, right? One of the best examples of this is the oak leaf butterfly. But the oak leaf butterfly has another trick up its sleeve. Apart from just looking and camouflaging itself like a leaf, what it does is it uses something called the flash coloration. The oak leaf butterfly, this one is blue and orange inside, and this one is, you can see this metallic blue color, right? So what flash coloration is that when a predator is going to try and follow this oak leaf butterfly, the oak leaf butterfly is going to flash its inner colors of orange, blue, bright colors. And then when it's going to fly off, it's going to close its wings and hide in plain sight with the surroundings, with the leaf, right? So it's not just hiding in leaf, it is also trying to fool the predator into looking for a bright blue or a bright orange butterfly rather than a butterfly that looks like a leaf, right? So it goes one step further from just a simple camouflage. Some butterflies try and fool the predator into thinking that they are a bigger insect than by having false eye spots in their wings, hind wing, right? So you can see all of these butterflies have these eye spots which are trying to deter predators. Some of them have false head, which means an impression of an eye, and these false antennas, which are like basically tails at the end. So even if a predator does attack this butterfly, it is going to go for the useless false head rather than the real head, right? So you will see a lot of butterflies with their ends eaten by the predator. Those are what we call the survivors. They have once been attacked, but because they are using this trick, they get saved to live another day, right? But not all tails have false heads. There are other reasons to have tails also. We are still finding out what those reasons are. Uh, uh, there is a lot of about butterfly biology and ecology. There's a lot of stuff that we still need to know, still need to figure out, especially about Indian butterflies, right? Let's quickly discuss the protection mechanism of caterpillars here also. Caterpillars are protein-rich food, right? So a lot of animals are going to be going for gunning for these caterpillars, right? So they use camouflage, the same trick as making themselves inedible, having pointy and pokey spines on them, group huddling to mislead predators, right? So let's look at some of the examples, right? So this common barren is trying to hide in the structure of the leaf. So when you look at it carefully, here it has been put in focus, but if you don't look at it carefully, you'll feel that it's part of the mango leaf, right? Uh, then this common lime caterpillar has this appendage, an ossutorium, which comes out and it's trying to look ferocious, whereas there's also a chemical that it pushes out, which is foul smelling, and that also deters the mm, predators from attacking it, right? Here you can see a group of caterpillars from small salmon Arab. They have arranged themselves in such a pattern so as to look like a bigger animal than they really are. Okay. This is common castor. It has those pointed spokes. This is caterpillar of a common Mormon. We discussed earlier also with the lime butterfly also that this is trying to disguise as bird poop. Uh, Here you can see caterpillar of a common immigrant on the left side with the chrysalis also hanging. So how well it is in the new leaves of a senna plant, how well is it hiding? Again, same for caterpillar of zebra blue. This is flambago plant. It has a very small flower bud. In that very small flower bud, the caterpillar, this white and green bug, the caterpillar, is on it, hiding in plain sight again. Same for castor. And moving on to butterfly predators, now we've seen how butterflies are keeping themselves safe. What are the protective mechanisms they're using? Let's look at some of the uh, predators that these butterflies have. Robber flies eat them, dragonflies eat them, spiders eat them, uh, birds feed on them. The same goes for butterfly caterpillars. The parasitoids eat them. Wasps, especially, kidnap them surgically, put hormones into them to keep it alive so their newborn larva can eat on it. Uh, uh, Sparrows, huge population of breeding sparrows depend on caterpillars. You can see a wasp again taking away another caterpillar. So, same as butterflies, caterpillars also have a lot of predators. Okay. Moving on from predators and how they keep themselves safe, it's a very known misconception about butterflies that butterflies only feed on flowers, right? A flower is nectar rich, and nectar is nothing but a uh, sugary energy drink, right? For any other minerals or nutrients that the butterfly might need, they go to different sources. Like, so you can see a nectaring butterfly, you can see butterflies sitting on rocks, you can see butterflies sitting on uh, rotten fruit. You can see butterflies utilizing sweat of human beings. You can see butterflies uh, nectaring on bird poop. You can also see them sitting on wet mud. So butterflies are not just sitting on flowers, they're also sitting on these other things. So if you go looking for butterflies, you have to check such uh, places also. And if you're trying to make an habitat where you want butterflies to come, they should have these elements in the habitat too. Just having plants with good flowers is not going to cut it, okay? Uh, Moving on to how butterflies feed. If you see carefully the left photo on the left side, this is a common cruiser with its proboscis. Proboscis being the appendage which the butterflies use uh, to suck any sort of nutrients, right? This is their only mouth part. and it behaves like a straw, which they can uncurl. You can see on the right side that this proboscis, like an elephant's trunk, is uncurled, and now it's using it on wet rocks to derive nutrients, right? This is a close-up uh, electron microscope photograph of a proboscis for a butterfly. When the adult butterfly comes out of the uh, the chrysalis, at that time the proboscis is in two parts. It zips up to form a straw-like structure, which we call the proboscis. So with all that we know now, the secret, how they keep themselves safe, what they eat, and all that, let's just brush over why these butterflies are important, right? What we understand as important. First, we must understand everything that is part and component of this biodiversity, nature around us is important. But somehow we look, our lens of looking at stuff is that it has to be important to human beings, right? So the importance of butterflies is that they are a food source for birds, bats, spiders, reptiles, parasitoids, wasps, anything, monkeys, street dogs, anything you can think of eats butterflies and moths, right? There are also some butterflies also very important pollinators to some plants, especially night flowering plants. And butterflies are also indicator of the health of the environment. So if there are more butterflies in a place, we can surmise that the it has a healthy environment, right? Going out looking at butterflies is good for your physical health as well as your mental health, right? So this is also some of the benefits that can be derived out of just watching butterflies. If we talk about an ideal ecosystem or your garden where you want to invite butterflies, there's a few principles that you have to think about. One is no chemical poisons should be used. Insecticide, pesticide, germicide, none of that, right? Here, nature is allowed to maintain its own system of checks and balances. If a plant gets some sort of infestation, nature will think of a solution for it, right? Plant and promote native species of your areas. Most of the native butterflies of your areas depend on their uh, local wild and native plants of the area as their larval host plants rather than some exotic ornamental plants that we can get from some other place, right? Uh, Also, we must use less intrusive methods of gardening. So we should keep a check on how many times we are de-weeding. We shouldn't have sanitary gardens. Gardens should be allowed to grow wild a little bit, right? And we have to change our mindset, our gardening mindset, where we always think that my plant should have perfect flowers or perfect leaves. We have to try and understand if I will have caterpillars which are eating my leaves of plants in my garden, then only will there be butterflies. Without the caterpillars, there will be no butterflies, right? So this is one thing we have to understand. When we talk about threats to these butterflies, habitat loss, climate change, use of pesticides and pollutants in the environment, uh, predators and disease, we must understand, talk about it, share with others that the rate of extinction of insects is 8 times faster than any of the mammals, birds, or reptiles. So these uh, beings are disappearing faster than we can even find them, right? What we can do for conservation of butterflies and insects on a whole, right? First, we can develop butterfly habitats, be a big space or your balcony gardens. Then we can do butterfly monitoring and help volunteer intern at programs which are running across India, conservation scientists who are working on butterfly monitoring and conservation. We can help them. We can also be contribute to citizen science initiatives such as Big Butterfly Month, City Nature Challenge, it's Moth Week this July. So these are some opportunities we have as citizens to uh, kind of support conservation science as it is happening in India. Now, India is primed to be a big place where laymen can, use technology in their hand, mobile phones, to actually contribute data and help conservation science, right? How we can do that is one of the programs that I'm associated with is Big Butterfly Month. It happens every September, uh, where people from across India come together to celebrate butterflies, do programming on butterflies, work with schools and colleges on butterflies, while doing all of this, also taking photographs of butterflies and submitting it to portals like iNaturalist, which not only keep my data that I have submitted, also help me identify what insect or butterfly I have submitted or I'm looking at. And third, everything that you're supporting is going to a global database, which is free to use for anybody, any scientist, any researcher who wants to pick up data, work on Indian butterflies, can utilize your data, and your data will help them a long way because before this, it has not been possible for scientists to do long-term studies over a large geographical area. Uh, with their own resources. So this gives them a way to design projects that can do that, right? Uh, with that, I finish my talk here. Just a few questions, quiz-like questions for you guys. Uh, let's see. Pooja, can you take up the questions, please?
Um, sure, sir. And participants, you are requested to type the answers for these questions in the chat box. So let's see how many of them you can actually get right. So the first question is, butterflies have dash on their wings that make them different from all other living beings. And we already have one answer, sir, by Sumendra Mukhopadhyay, and he says scales.
Yes.
Sumana Roy also has answered that butterflies have dash legs. So I think again, okay, so previous. The question is butterflies have dash legs. I think that
How many legs do butterflies have?
I think there is one with the correct answer, Sumendra again, I guess, and that is six. So is that the correct answer?
Yes, yes, great. Why do butterflies
So
like sunlight?
one of the answer is this, but okay, that's the question. Another is so participants, the question is why do butterflies like sunlight? Uh, Miss Asha has answered because they are cold-blooded.
Yes, yes, perfect.
Question four is do butterflies grow in size?
So this is a tricky
Uh,
question. This wasn't mentioned in the talk, right? It was
yeah.
just hinted at. So basically, an adult butterfly, once it comes out of the chrysalis, will never grow in size. All the growing in size is going to be done by the caterpillar when it's eating. So it changes its size 4 to 5 times. Those are called instars. Whereas an adult butterfly will never grow in size. It will come out. The size of that butterfly, adult butterfly, will depend on how much the caterpillar has eaten. Sometimes the caterpillar gets less food and the butterfly is small. Sometimes it gets adequate food and the butterfly is normal sized.
Even though that was not mentioned in the webinar that we had, we still have seven, eight participants here with the correct answer because I can
Nice.
see many of them have written no. And with this, we come to the last question. Butterflies have The butterflies live for dash weeks, months, and years. So Ria Chaudhary, okay, Samir Swami says 2 weeks, and Urmil has said months, and Arshi is saying 2 weeks.
Yes, so
Nisha,
butterflies, all of them are right. Butterflies are short-lived insects.
okay.
So from say 10 days to 6 to 9 months is what butterflies usually live to. But they have this excellent ability of going into diapause, which means they can pause their life in any life stage and resume when the conditions are great, good again. Right? With that, we can open up to question answers.
Definitely, sir. That was indeed. Even I came to know some new information in this webinar. And with this, we take up the questions. And the first question is by Mr. Shiva, and he asked, "Why do butterflies migrate?"
To find ideal conditions. So there are few known butterfly migrations in India. Not much is studied about them, but internationally the most famous butterfly migration is monarch migration, which is happens from south of Canada to north of Mexico. Uh, and the migration happens intergenerationally. So there is no one butterfly which is going all the 7,000 miles. They do it intergenerationally. So one butterfly goes some distance, then does the life cycle, then the other butterfly carries on the journey, right? So in India, the main migration that happens is just before the monsoon. Butterflies go from Western Ghats to Eastern Ghats, and similarly, they have a back route also when they come from Eastern Ghats to Western Ghats. Only some butterflies of some families do this, not all of them.
Sir, another participant wants to ask the best season and time to see butterflies.
Monsoon is usually the best time to see butterflies and its life cycle, but different places have different times for it. But you can imagine July, August, September, October to be good times, most of the places in India.
Sir, Manashi wants to ask for you to suggest plants to attract butterflies in Agra.
Some butterflies are very easy to attract at home. So you plant lemon, kadi patta, uh, kalincho, uh, which others? There are a few, this milkweed, Calotropis procera or Gigantea. There are a few butterflies that will easily come, like kadi patta pe or lemon pe. They'll easily come and lay eggs, right? And there's a lot of plant lists that you can find online. There's this website called BOI, Butterflies of India, where there's a list of host plants for each butterfly. But commonly,
Interesting.
most of the plants are wild and local.
Sir, Miss Nepali wants to ask that how do we differentiate between moths and butterflies?
Yeah, I removed that slide. I had that slide on. Yeah, so basically, what I would like to, for everybody to understand here, is that Lepidoptera, the group that butterflies and moths belong to, uh, if there are 10 types of moths in the world, one of them is butterflies, right? So there's a lot of butterfly moth diversity as compared to butterfly diversity. There's more than 150,000 species of moths in the world known. There might be more, right? And whereas there are only 18,000 butterflies. So for every rule that I can tell you, there will be a moth that doesn't follow that rule, right? So, like some people will say, moths are nocturnal, butterflies are flying, day flying, right? But there are some day flying moths also, and now we have found some night flying butterflies also. So in insect world, there's so much diversity that these rules don't hold. But physically, when you're looking at a insect and you want to figure out if it's a moth or a butterfly, The easiest way is to by looking at the antenna. The antenna of a butterfly will be club shaped, like a hockey club, and any other different straight, combed, feathery, any other type of antenna on the scaled winged insect, it's a moth. So that's the physical difference that you can make out. And there's also difference in the way they sit, but again, that's not universal.
Sir, Samir wants to ask, can we recreate a mud puddling site in our garden? And if possible, then how?
Yes, yes, very easy to do. So you can use gobar for it. If you put gobar at a spot and keep watering it, then that spot will become a mud puddling spot. When we go for butterfly surveys, people don't like me telling the story, but when we go for butterfly surveys, we all drink a lot of water and then we find a sunny spot and we all take turns pissing there, and that turns into a butterfly mud puddling spot also. So it's very easy to create such spots.
Sir,
You
Lakshya
can
wants to
use
ask,
rotten fruit, the waste
okay.
fruit that comes out of your kitchen. You can just put it on the in a corner in your this thing garden, and that will also attract butterflies.
So up next, Lakshya wants to ask, how does the segmentation of subspecies happen? Like the 18,000 number you mentioned, for a layman to understand the process.
Can you repeat the question? How process of what happens?
The segmentation of subspecies.
Segmentation of subspecies.
Yes, sir.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir. That is what is being
Okay, so
asked.
if what I understand you're trying to ask is some bit upon taxonomy. So taxonomy is basically because human beings can't understand the entirety of nature, we have kind of classified animals, right, into species, subspecies, groups, all of that, right? This is not hard and fast. This is just a way for us to understand where to put a certain species. Nowadays, there is a lot of work happening on molecular biology and DNA level sampling. So once we get new information on a species, and if we can prove uh, by experiments and publish it in a research journal that there are enough differences between two samples of the same species, then they can be divided into two different subspecies. Sometimes it's done geographically, sometimes it's done basis of calls, sometimes it's done basis of morphology, sometimes molecular biology, sometimes DNA. Depends on what evidence you are providing. So it was started by a guy called Linnaeus in England, a way to classify animals. Now, in that classification keeps changing because new evidence comes to science and it is presented to the whole community.
So next, Nohar wants to ask the region where in India monarch butterfly can be found.
Nowhere. Monarch is a North American butterfly.
And he's also asking the reason for it.
Reason for so
For
nowhere. In India, you can't find monarch butterfly. In India, similar looking butterfly is called the striped tiger, which is different from monarch, but looks very similar. And that is very common across India. Everywhere it can be found.
so another participant wants to ask that which phase of the butterfly cycle is the longest? Is it the larvae or the pupation?
Interesting. It's not one set rule. All this is even in a species. It's not the timetable. When we are talking about these life stages, not a timetable or an education system that first I will go to primary school, then secondary school, then higher school, right? It's depending on the butterfly wants perfect conditions for it to breed as well as have enough leaves for the young larva to feed upon. So there is a timing that it's trying to hit. So sometimes in nature, timings go wrong. Like they anticipate that it's going to be a dry spell. So maybe let me prolong my stay in the chrysalis. So sometimes the chrysalis will not move for 8 months. Right? After 8 months, some one day it will come out. The butterfly will come out. So it's basically looking for the best time to come out. But just as a rule of thumb, I would say in chrysalis, it stays longer if we don't compare it to the whole caterpillar life. Caterpillar goes through 4 and 5, 4 or 5, 6 instars in some cases. So it might have a longer life just as a caterpillar.
The last is not a question, but an observation that is being shared by Mr. Prashant. He says that he has seen a significant reduction in the number of butterflies over the past 5 decades. He belongs to Dehradun and has moved to Vancouver. But even in Vancouver, monarch butterfly has been affected due to the loss of habitat. He says that in India, the loss in numbers is due to both loss of habitat and extensive use of pesticides. So any comments on this
No, no,
observation?
perfect. Perfect. Yes, yes. And the problem is, I completely agree with Prashant. And the way I see it, the problem is we don't even have any data to back it up in India. I can tell you anecdotally, everybody will relate to this. So I am old. Uh, when I was a kid and used to go from one city to another city, we had to stop at petrol pumps to clean our windshields because insects would hit them. Yeah. So the windshield would get dirty. For the younger generation now, I don't think they have ever seen that. The windshield getting dirty because of the insects on the highway. Right? Those insects on the highway are gone. And for what reasons you're saying, for habitat loss, habitat fragmentation, use of chemical poisons, all of that has drastically reduced. So the data abroad says about 25 to 40% reduction in uh, insect population across the world. In India, we don't have data, and that's why these citizen science programs are important for us to understand what is actually happening, present that data to the authorities, and do some policy level changes, right? Now, we might have to start uh, taking bees to farmlands for pollination itself. So basic life functions that we are used to take for granted are now under threat because of loss of insect life. So I think I agree with you, Prashant, and the situation is very dire in our country. Mm. Earlier on in monsoon, when the monsoon nights, you would switch on the light or forget to switch off the light on your porch or outside somewhere. It would be full of insects, moths flying, other things, bugs, beetles. But now you hardly see that. In the cities, very hard to see. Lights are on all the time. So yes, insect population is gravely affected, and somehow it's not talked about as much as it should be. So this is our attempt at doing the same. Thanks, Prashant, for your comments.
So we'll take up one last question by Ria. She wants to ask that how we can separate poisonous and non-poisonous butterflies.
Hi, Ria. Separate in what sense is like how you can differentiate?
Yes, I think she wants to ask how we can
So,
differentiate between the
so
two
when I
kinds of
say
venom.
first, let me just clarify for everybody. When I say poisonous, I don't mean venomous. It's not like they can bite us and they're poisonous like that. It's just they're inedible. If a bird eats the butterfly, the bird will get a upset tummy, right? So that's what I mean by poisonous butterflies when I'm referring to them as such. And most of the bright colored butterflies, which are bold and don't get easily scared, will be unpalatable or inedible, and mostly because of the larval host plant that they're feeding on. So sometimes, if you know the larval host plant also, you'll be able to figure out if the butterfly is going to be inedible or not. The general rule of thumb is brightly colored butterflies with distinct markings like a Jezebel or a crimson rose, common rose, uh, Paris peacock, or these brightly colored butterflies are going to be inedible usually. I hope
So
that
with
answers
this,
your question, Riya.
So with this, we come to an end of today's webinar. First of all, thank you so much, sir, for taking out your precious time and sharing such valuable insights on such an interesting topic. Definitely, it was equally intriguing for the participants as well as for me because even I came across many wonderful facts today. I was not knowing prior.
Yeah,
And thank you so
thank
much.
you for the opportunity, and I hope of all the people here, they take out time in September to join the Big Butterfly Month. We'll keep you posted. Asian Adventure is also part of the team, so there'll be information coming from here also. So
And the
thank you, Kritika, thank you, Pooja.
So, the participants, thank you for joining us on this lovely Saturday evening. And for more such webinars and sessions, do not forget to follow our page. And like Sir said, we would be definitely looking forward towards your participation in the Big Butterfly Month. So, to be updated about what initiatives are being taken, do not follow our Global Wildlife Fair, Asian Adventures, and our other pages. And before we sign off, there is a quick note from our end that at Asian Adventures, Global Wildlife Fair, the Indian Wildlife Network, and Earthworks, we believe that meaningful conversations are the starting point for effective conservation efforts. We hope that today's webinar has offered fresh perspectives, valuable insights, and inspiration that you may carry forward in your everyday work. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this growing community. We look forward to welcoming you for another session soon. Thank you so much, everyone. A very good evening.
Thank you. Bye bye.